On Sunday, we looked at the introduction of David in the book of Samuel. But we came across this interesting passage where David is described in 1 Samuel as the 8th son of Jesse, and David is described as the 7th son of Jesse in the book of 1 Chronicles. Well, this brings up some interesting questions for a lot of us. Is one of these passages wrong? What does that mean about the Bible? How we can trust it? How we can put our confidence in it? 7 is an interesting number in the Hebrew culture. 7 is not just a normal number. 7 is a representative number, completion, the number for perfection. It's the number for God in Hebrew imagination. And so in 1 Samuel, when the writer says that 7 sons were paraded in front of Samuel, and God said, nope, not one of these, the writer is telling us that David is an actual honest outsider. He comes from outside the story. He's not what we expected. The story is complete in a sense. All the sons that we think should be brought before Samuel have been brought, and yet God has another chapter to write. That's what the writer is saying here. Now, hundreds of years later, in the book of 1 Chronicles, the writer there is looking back on the story of David, wants to celebrate and memorialize David's reign as king. And so he says that David was the 7th son of Jesse to say, actually, David was the king that we needed. He was the son that we were looking for. He was the one who did what God wanted him to do, or at least was who God wanted him to be in the story. Both of those are using 7 in their literary imagination. They are not talking about a factual counting of sons here. Was David the 8th son? Was he the 7th son? Well, we don't know. Was he the 5th or the 9th son? That's not really the point. Each of these writers are making a different point from their perspective about who David was. And this is really important when we read our Bible and when we approach anything in the text, that these writers have been inspired by God to write with a literary imagination. They are not just there recording facts, recording history as if this was a textbook for us. These are men and women inspired by the creative spirit of God to communicate to us not just what happened, but why it happened and why we should care about what happened. So when we read the text of Scripture, reading it literally is not as important as reading it literarily. And this is so significant when we come to our text if we want to get everything out that God has placed there for us.